Hey, fellas. If you haven't already heard, ESHL will be back for NHL 16. EA released some information on NHL 16 and also has a live Q&A going on, so you can ask them whatever you want. I'll put the link down in the description below. Don't expect an answer, as they're probably very limited on what they can talk about. I've submitted about 5 questions, none of which have been answered, but it's still good to see what they have to say and what questions they are answering. Some of the ESHL committee members have expanded on some of those topics that were released by EA earlier this week, and they've been posting about it on the EA forums, so go check those out. But before I cover anything, they did not release anything about goalies yet. It's still early though, so don't worry. There was a post on the forums by a committee member saying that they weren't allowed to talk about goalies yet. Part of that reason being that EA wasn't completely finished with goalies when they tested the game. Two things. One is that EA is at least focusing some time into revamping goalies this year. That's a positive. Two, it's still extremely early. Remember that. They have lots of time to work on the game, and a lot of this stuff is still speculation. What I hope to see is that goalies will have more of an effect on the outcome of the game like they do in real life. That being said, I hope they don't make the position easier to play, but rather they make it so there's more of a learning curve. If you're inexperienced and you don't know how to play the position, you should cost your team the game. If you're average, you should keep your team in the game, consistently. But if you're amazing and you've put in the time to be good at goalie, you should be able to carry your team. Now, I'm going to focus heavily on ESHL and the revamped class system, as well as OTP using NHL players. But some other important points are that vision control and precision skating have been implemented back into the game. It's supposed to be a little different than it used to be, so that'll be great to see what it does for defense. Also, player customization will be strictly aesthetics, so there's no custom builds, but you will be able to customize your laces, visors, your stick tape, etc. ESHL will no longer use player progression or custom builds. Once you join the game, you pick your position and your player type in a pregame lobby. This is similar to some of the class systems we see in other games. But let's say you pick Playmaker. You will have the same attributes as every other person who picked Playmaker in that game. Now, no one is sure what all the player types or classes will be or what their attributes will be, but we do know that it will be a generic baseline class that you pick before the game. The next thing is that speed, acceleration, and agility are all locked at the exact same for all classes right now. They viewed these athletic stats as a bit overpowered, and the idea here is that they want people to use different classes rather than running 3 grinders or 3 playmakers because they have the highest speed. They want people to spread it out and use their team. In OTP, you'll be forced to use NHL players rather than your own custom player. Stats will still be capped, however the idea is to get people to play club more than drop in. There will be private lobbies available, or at least they're working on it, that will allow for leagues or competitive pugs or draft rooms to use the player class system like in ESHL without using your club. Now, I know a lot of people are probably upset that they took out player progression and custom builds, but my opinion is that this will make the game way more competitive. Someone argued that they're catering the game to casual players because they close the gap between casuals and competitive players. That's true somewhat. It levels the playing field and makes everyone start with the exact same thing, but it makes it so that skill and hockey sense decide what team will win the game. All competitive games with the serious pro scene are set up like this, like CSGO and Dota, etc. Everyone is on the same level. You don't get an advantage for being a higher rank. Your skill determines how good you are and if your team wins. It's about the time you put into being good at the game, not the boosts you've unlocked. You may ask, well, if I put in more hours than someone else, I should be rewarded for that and have an advantage. You're right. If you put in more hours, you should be better than the guy who puts in an hour a day after work, but not because you have more XP than he does or know how to build a player who never loses a puck. You should be better because you put in the hours to be better at the gameplay itself and better at playing the different classes. If you put in countless hours playing the Playmaker class, you should be better than anyone else who uses that who plays less. You'll know the ins and outs of the build and what its limitations are. I've seen arguments that we should all get the same amount of XP to start and let us customize the build the way we like. I disagree. That's exactly what we have now. Most guys are Legend 3 who still play this game, and it's still garbage. I don't think we should be able to have superstar players. EA's goal is to provide us with balanced gameplay and balanced player types that force you to use your teammates. You shouldn't be able to be good at everything, which has been the case for the last 5 years. This will add a bit of a challenge to the gameplay and probably extend the learning curve a little bit, which is a great thing for competitive gameplay. I do think it's too bad that OTP won't follow the same system as ESHL, because I truly believe you need to have a place to practice these play styles outside of club. Now that may mean setting up a place to start competitive draft lobbies, but a lot of casual players aren't interested in that. But the idea, once again, was to force people to be a little more competitive. In closing here, I'm interested to see how they will handle goalies with this new class system. I hope there are different playstyles that are based on reactions and positioning, rather than the 3 playstyles they currently have. No one in the NHL plays strictly stand-up or butterfly anymore. They're all hybrids, but some stand up a little more and others drop down a little more. I think it'd be cool to be able to pick between a build that's a little more quick compared to a build that's a little better positionally before the game starts, because there are some teams that like to move the puck around really quick and you need to be able to react fast and stop cross creases, and there are other teams that like to shoot the puck a lot more from the point, be better to play a better positional style. I think they're headed in the right direction, and don't get me wrong, I'm not praising EA yet, but I think it sounds positive right now. I'll update you guys again when they release more stuff, and specifically on goalies. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later. Enjoy.